Good evening, New Zealand sim racing fans. Welcome to the first round of the New Zealand Esports Racing Series brought to you by Respawn Esports and New Zealand Esports. This is the first time that this series has been run in New Zealand, and we are so excited to bring it to you from the heart of Wellington. It's great to be here at Respawn Esports Centre, and we're looking forward to a great season of racing. We'll talk a bit more about the details of how the season is going to look for you guys in a little bit. But first of all, let's introduce ourselves. So my name is Tom England. I go by Atom in the online space. I am joined by Crazy Good Kung Fu, or as he's known in real life, George Cook. And he's here to help me run through this series with you guys and bring you an awesome season of racing. And I'm so happy to have you by my side, mate.
Mate, I appreciate it. It's great to be here at the Respawn Esports Centre in Wellington. It's a fantastic place. We've got a little bit of impromptu setup here for our commentary box, but it's cozy, and we like it like that way. So it's very nice.
Yeah, it's looking good, and we've got everything we need to bring you an awesome season of racing. So as you can see in the window next to us, we are at Laguna Seca this evening, and we will detail that more for you very shortly. But first of all, we need to give you a quick rundown on how the season is going to look points-wise, so you guys have an idea of what the drivers are competing for. Down on how the New Zealand Esports Racing Series will look for 2023. 15 drivers make up our top division, selected based on a pre-season qualifying time trial. They'll be put to the test over a 6-round online season, scoring season points based on race results. At the end of the season, the 5 drivers with the least season points will be eliminated, and our top 10 will move on to the live finals at Respawn Esports Centre in Wellington. The finalists from this point on will score championship points, starting with a handful being awarded to the top 6 season point scorers. The finals will consist of 2 races, first worth 12 points to the winner, and then a grand final worth double points to decide our championship winner and the competitor who earns the chance to get behind the wheel of a real race car thanks to our friends at Highlands Motorsport Park. So that is our rundown, everyone. That is how the season is going to look. So if you weren't 100% clear on how tonight's race is going to work for you guys, we are watching the top division this evening, and the points available to the number 1 driver in the race tonight is 12. Each round through the season will run the same amount of points on offer, except for rounds 3 and 6, which will be worth double the points, as they will consist of 2 races instead of 1. So that's how the season is going to look for that. At the end of the season, we will tally the points, and the bottom 5 will be eliminated, and the top 10 will proceed to the live finals, which I am so excited for. It will be one of the biggest live sim racing finals in New Zealand history, with 10 competitors there, 10 rigs in one room. It's the sort of thing you only ever see at the World Championships.
Well, exactly, and it's straight out of the textbook of doing a brilliant live broadcast in esports, having a LAN event. It's exciting. It's what we all sort of play these games for at the end of the day. And to have all the best of the best sim racers join us here in Wellington at the Respawn Esports Centre is going to be absolutely peak stuff. They've got 6 rounds to go through, as Atom has just mentioned, and then we'll have the 7th round here in Wellington for the grand finals. It's going to be brilliant. Looking forward to this.
And that grand final will hopefully crown our winner. And the winner, of course, as mentioned in the video that we saw before, will earn a chance to go to Queenstown and drive a real Radical race car. The Radical car as well is a car that is going to feature this season in the racing series. So keep an eye out for that. It's a lot of fun. I've driven the Radical in Queenstown myself, and it is such a good time. And I'm so jealous of the driver that's going to win that chance in this series.
Me too.
So here is our leaderboard based on the qualifying period that we had that allocated our divisions before the season began. So this will give you guys an idea of the pecking order here in the New Zealand Esports Racing Series based on the qualifying that we had. So the top 15 was selected for the top division. And as you see on your screen there, A.E. McEwen, or Matthew McEwen, we've actually got a bit of a spelling error on his name there. He's actually got 2 E's in the name, but it's a common error to see most people make. But a time of 1 minute 50.145, and that was enough to put him in the top 10 global times as well, along with fellow New Zealander, of course, Simon, or Sidwag 2, with a 1 minute 50.184. So they both qualified for the top 10 in the global standings for our time trial that we used as well. So that was really impressive to see, really putting New Zealand on the map with this series. Apex Humper in P3 as well. He also was in the global top 10 until he was knocked off by McEwen. So we never had 3 in there, unfortunately, but we did have 2 for a short period.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And they are top drivers from around New Zealand. It is brilliant to see those 3 up at the top. Of course, we've got Jinx, Lynx, NZ as well, known as Sam. 1 minute 50.426, getting very close to the top times, only about 0.2 of a second in it. So it was a close qualifying. And then a well-known name to us here, me and Tom, ZX Scar, a fantastically fast driver, also known as Matt from Auckland. Then we've got a green goldfish, which I've read a couple of different ways a few times. We'll keep it to a green goldfish, a 1 minute 50.489 in 6th position in our qualifying time trials. And then Monkey Matt, NZ, who, as you might have guessed, he's called Matt, funnily enough. Followed by number 8 here, it's Scooter82, so an 8 in the name and an 8 on the timing boards for qualifying, followed by Nemo there for 150.688 ninth spot, and then Big Head Ted, a 150.696. Some great names, some great PSN names.
And all within a second of each other as well. So it shows that the competition in this division is going to be very, very close, and it's going to be hard to pick who's actually going to take home the grand prize at the end of the season. Of course, there are multiple prizes up for grabs this season. There will be prizes awarded to Division 2 place getters and Division 3 place getters as well, along with other minor competitions throughout the season. So we'll have a look now at the track that we're dealing with tonight. So here is a look, as you will have seen before, Laguna Seca is where we are this evening. A 3.6 kilometre track with 12 corners, and you can see on the graphic there, there's been a couple of highlights with this track for your information. So the first one is possibly one of the most important ones, and that's turn 2 down at the bottom. So the first overtaking zone, and it's a double apex left-hander and a huge heavy braking zone, and in these cars, which we'll get to very shortly, is a real handful to get through. The second corner that we've singled out for special attention this evening is the turn 6 kink, left-hand uphill, with a sausage curb on the inside that if you hit, if you take the corner a little bit too narrow, you will end up flying off into the gravel and building some sandcastles. And then the third point of interest on this track is the corkscrew, or turns 8 and 9 up the top of the circuit. This is a 6-story drop at this corner. It's completely blind, and you have to work really hard to navigate this corner.
Too right, yeah, it's a fantastic circuit. We're over in Monterey County, near Monterey, California, in the United States. They have to say California at least 3 times. The track was brought to us about 65 years ago in 1957. It's a 3.6 kilometer circuit in the desert, a real desert dash here with 12 turns overall. Let's take a little look now at our incredible vehicle that we are putting on for show here today, and it is a brilliant, brilliant car. 494.5, I should say, brake horsepower, a 150 meter braking point. We'll talk about that in just a second, because we've got to mention the 1.5 tons of weight that this thing has. And in addition to that, just to throw it all into the wind, you're going to be using sports tires today, which is going to make it a lot of fun. Braking around here is going to be absolutely critical. And with an engine this powerful, a powerful naturally aspirated 6.2 litre V8, you are going to need to apply the throttle incredibly careful. It's all about driver skill here today at Laguna Seca.
And this is just a classic example of American engineering. As much power as you can cram into an engine unit, and zero thought on the braking ability of this car. So looking at that braking point, we are 150 meters from turn 1 when we are applying the brakes. Turn 2 rather, because of course the left-hander before turn 1 is counted as a corner on this track. So that braking point is about 60 meters earlier than a GT3 race car. But given the amount of time that guys on this game spend driving the GT3 cars, it's going to be very hard for our drivers to wrap their head around that early braking point. Very, very difficult to handle. So overtaking into turn 2 is going to be an interesting watch, and that run down to turn 2 from the lights out moment is going to be very, very exciting.
Exactly right. There are few opportunities to overtake, gravel everywhere on the track. And now taking a look at our tyres and fuel For this race, we've got 3 compounds available. They're all part of the sports category. If you don't know, there are comforts, there are sports, and there are racing tires with 3 types each: the softs, the mediums, and the hards. From left to right, you've got the sports soft, the sports medium, and the sports hard tires, all with different lifetimes. We are running 16 times tires. That means the tires will degrade at 16 times their normal rate. Just to add an extra bit of a challenge here for all the competitors, we've got just below the tires an estimation of how long these tires are going to last in terms of laps, but there will be a strategic choice here, Atom. Do you go for the hards? Do you take them long and go slower? Do you go on the mediums and try and extend them out to that 11 lap point, or are you going to be racing on the softs as soon as possible?
Yeah, the mandatory tyre effect is really going to throw a spanner in the works tonight. So all 3 of these tyres are required to be used for a minimum of 1 lap. So all of them will have to be used. You see that 7-lap tyre life for the Sports Soft. Now that, while the tyre is the fastest tyre available to our drivers there, clearly it wears out quite quickly, so they're not going to be able to stay on it as long as possible. But the question is now, because you have to make a minimum of 2 pit stops to use all 3 tyres, will anyone go for a 3rd stop and reuse those soft tyres once again, or will they be trying to make their 3 compounds last to the end in 2 pit stops?
Exactly right. It's a big, big decision for all the competitors to make out on track, and it will determine whether or not they spend that time in the pit stop. We know that the pit entry and exit here are not exactly the shortest, and we are now going to be moving rapidly towards our qualifying sessions. So as we get set up and go live out on track, we do welcome you once again, of course, to the wonderful, the one and only, the New Zealand Esports Racing Series here, starting for the first time around the country. It's been a fantastic privilege to be invited here as well. So a big thank you to Tom England and the Respawn Esports crew and all the team behind it. And thank you to New Zealand Esports as well for bringing us an amazing competition here in New Zealand. I think, Atom, Tom, it might be time to go out on circuit.
I'm excited. I'm ready to rock and roll. We are going to get qualifying underway right about now for these guys. So a 10-minute session for these guys to set the fastest lap possible, and that will set the grid for the race to come. And get your popcorn, get your snacks ready. Remember what we saw on that leaderboard a little bit earlier, and we'll see what these guys can put down at a different track here at Laguna Seca.
That's absolutely right. So we're expecting, obviously, to see Matt McEwen, that's A.E. McEwen, and Psydog up there in the top. But I've been really impressed with Apex Hump as well. So Apex has been doing fantastically well, set a brilliant qualifying time. Of course, he's going to be known here as, unfortunately on screen, as Humper. We're going to have to find his real name. I'll tell you what, I'll bring that up right now to make sure that we can call him by his real name.
I think we might have to call him the Big H.
I think Big H is quite a good one, actually. Big H, that's a good nickname. Much better than what I came up with. No, his real name is Jake, so we'll keep that in mind. And so those are the kind of drivers that we're going to be keeping an eye on here for the top 3 in this qualifying session. Jinx Lynx as well, right up there. Scar, I know, is a fantastically quick driver in these sort of conditions. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a tricky one. These cars are incredibly difficult to deal with. They have a huge amount of weight on them, and they are going to be a real nightmare into some of the tighter corners in the Laguna Seca circuit. Of course, looking down the field as well, we haven't mentioned the bottom of the grid so far. So in P11 in our qualifying was Plodder, followed by HC Lewis. That's Lewis Atkinson, for those who know. And then we've got a replacement here for Demon Chippy, and that is iWizards, who I know quite well. He's been in my stream a few times. Haven't had a conversation with him personally just yet, but I'm sure we'll get some interviews at some point down the grid. We do actually have some interviews coming up, and hopefully we've got all the technology set up so that it will work, but we'll be doing a qualifying interview with the pole sitter, and then we'll be doing a winner's interview as well. So we'll be keeping a very, very close eye on that as we do now head to our qualifying session, which has now begun. Actually, sorry, it has not begun. We're still in practice just for a second. So we're just going to wait just a little bit longer and talk a little bit more about the qualification time trial, which has been running for the last few weeks online at the New Zealand Esports website where you've been able to go and register on the Discord and get yourself involved in that. Unfortunately, the qualification is now closed. We've got our 3 divisions, 2 other divisions running in the background here at the Respawn Esports Center. Of course, today we'll be focusing on the top 15, and that is the Division 1 drivers, as you can see them right now. So looking down the grid, and P13, as I said, Wizard, then 14, it is GD Crimson, and then rounding out our qualifying time trial with still a very respectable time of a 150.867, it is Dive Cable, and as you can see, there is less than a second separating all of the Div 1 drivers. It's mighty impressive what these chaps have been able to do. I personally could definitely not be putting in times like this. They are absolutely amazing. And here we go. We are going to be moving now to our qualifying session as things get started for the very first time here at the New Zealand Esports Racing Series, going out on track. And do let us know in chat, of course, if the audio levels are coming in correctly. I know that we've had a comment there about an audio level issue with the microphone. Make sure you are, of course, turned up on your computer. That is very, very important. But nonetheless, we are getting started. We're going out on grid for the first time. We're going to be keeping an eye on what these drivers are capable of doing. So just reading through chat as well. Welcome in to everyone in chat. We are seeing what's going on. There is a lot going on in the background here in the commentary box as well. So we will try as much as we can to get to your questions. JJ Norms, thank you very much for raiding us as well early on. Really appreciate that. So predictions, folks. What do you think is going to happen today in our time trial? And that will obviously determine what's going to happen in the race later on. My prediction today is I think we're going to be seeing McEwen, Simon and Apex, which is the big H, going into pole position. But at the end of the day, with only 10 minutes in qualifying, things are going to get incredibly tricky incredibly quickly. And look at these amazing liveries. These have all been prepared by the Respawn Esports team, and I believe we have the designer, in fact, in chat as well. The liveries that Kaido Eraser has designed look absolutely epic. In fact, we're going to try and jump on board very briefly for one of these. Let's have a little look at this beautiful, beautiful livery here for the Division 1 drivers. Well done to Kaido. That is an absolutely mega, mega effort that he has put in to produce these. No rear wing there for this particular variant, which does look particularly good in my opinion. Nonetheless, it is a fantastic, fantastic piece of work. There is a custom livery, of course, that is allowed for the Division 2 and Division 3 drivers in this series. Obviously, we won't be showing those out on track because we are covering only the Division 1 lobby, but they have all put in a lot of hard work in the background to make sure those liveries are looking absolutely on point. There is actually also a livery competition that will be running throughout this New Zealand Esports Racing Series. And of course, we have to mention, of course, our Highlands Motorsport Park sponsors as well, who've done such a great job in helping us to put this all together and offering a massive prize for the winner of Division 1. Stunning stuff from around the grid. And Atom, I have to admit, these liveries, we've just been talking about them, they're brilliant. They're absolutely stunning. And we're away on our first hot laps.
So full credit must go to Kaido Racer, a regular here at Respawn who volunteered his time to create these liveries for our series, and I have to admit they look fantastic, and on a very short time crunch as well, to get 15 different colors ready to go for this event was just amazing. And they ended up getting shared, you know, right at the last minute, but all the drivers appear to have got them put on their car and they are ready to rock and roll now, so this is great to see. So having a look at the moment, first hot lap coming to the end of it. We've got Jinx Links up the front, who is about to set the first lap time. No, crossed the line with a penalty by the looks of things. No, he has set a lap time. There we go. So 29.73 to lead us off, and AE McEwen, to the surprise of nobody, finds himself at the top of the standings. So this is just showing what we saw in the pace from him in the qualifying period leading up to this. But this is great to see, and he's now very close to someone in front of him as well, so he's going to have a hard time here setting a fast lap this time around, so he may have to treat this lap as an in-lap, come into the pits, or they're getting a little bit racy in qualifying here, but, you know, it's good to see. And McEwen goes through, and he'll probably come in this lap to get some fresh tyres and go to the end of the session. Now, if you have a look at the timer down the bottom left corner of the screen, ticking up at the moment, we're about the 4-minute mark. Once we hit the 10-minute mark, qualifying, or the checkered flag rather, will come out for these guys, and anyone who has not yet crossed the line will not be able to set any more lap times, and then they'll get one more, and that will be all.
Now, it's important to note as well that during the qualifying, the fuel will come down towards the end of the session, so we can expect to see a grandstand finish here in the final few laps. So those are the ones that are going to count. But luckily for McEwen, he has got himself a banker lap here. So let's have a look at Jinx Links now in the purple livery, and all these different colours look amazing, don't you think?
Oh yeah, it's really nice to see a variation of colour on the grid. And, it is the same design, but with that variation of colour gives us the ability... Actually, tell you what, in the commentary box, it's nice just to be able to recognise the car by the colour. It's almost like having the number stapled on the helmet of the drivers for the Formula 1 commentators to be able to see. Jinx Link's doing a great job at the moment. He's just been taken out, though, by 0.4 of a second by Monkey Matt in the white livery. That is a brilliant lap there, but they're both still 0.427 of a second off the back of Mr. McEwen, who has set an absolutely brilliant banker lap at the start of this. As Atom's just said, he has gone into the pits. He's getting a new set of those soft sport tyres. He won't obviously get any new fuel because he wants to burn that as much as possible. And purple goes Monkey Matt again.
Right, we'll jump on board with Monkey Matt now. Here we are on the roof camera, and we are in the slipstream as well of, I think that's Jinx Links out the front of him, or it might be someone else actually. I think Jinx Links was in the purple livery. We do also have another way to identify the cars, and that is their race number. You can see there on the bonnet of Monkey Matt's car, he is sporting the number 7, and that represents the position he was in the qualifying time trial that we ran for the last 2 weeks. So 7th in the qualifying time trial, yet here at Laguna Seca in round 1 at this point in qualifying, he is P2 right now, provisionally.
That's right, these cars introduce a totally new game here with the tyre degradation as high as it is, and Monkey Matt still going purple. Maybe he should be in the purple livery car. We'll see. I'm sure Jinx Links has got an answer to that coming up momentarily. Does actually slide into the pit lane though, and that is the orange car going very, very wide at turn 10. Not ideal, this might be turn 11 in fact. We'll make sure we bring that up to be absolutely accurate. But this is a different challenge. It's totally different from the time trial where you had plenty of time. You were there, you were setting lap after lap. Now it comes down to crunch time, 10 minutes to put in the top times.
There's an improvement there for Monkey Matt. He goes to within 0.2 of A.E. McEwen, but not enough to unseat Matthew up the top there. But a great lap time nonetheless, and it puts him in a lot more of a safe position to Jinx Links behind him. And of course as well, we've got Nemo in P4 as well. He is currently in the pits getting a new set of tyres. There's the pit crew going to work and putting a set on there for him. And McEwen here about to set a lap time. No, he is about to go around for one more. So it'll be interesting to see what he's capable of doing. Let's have a look a bit further down. We've got Pete Tender here, who a lot of people in the community might know from the Monkey Motorsport days back on Gran Turismo Sport. A huge community there, and you might recognize that name a little bit because of Monkey Matt currently sitting in P3. Now, that was his club. That was a community he created back in the sport days, and a lot of the guys are still kicking around and competing here as well in the New Zealand Esports Racing Series.
Too right, yeah. Brilliant history here, of course, with Gran Turismo Sport. Really kind of bringing the community out, and sort of loading up New Zealand with a bunch of sim racing. A bunch of that passion has been injected into the sim racing community. It's fantastic to see that continue through into Gran Turismo 7. On board now with Crimson. He's in P12 at the moment. A little bit off the pace here at the moment. We'll see if he can pull in a couple of good laps. Monkey Matt filters into the pit lane. And by the way, the Big H has gone up to P2 in this race, and he's only 1800ths of a second ahead of Monkey Matt, and McEwen is still now only 0.166 of a second in front of these chaps. So he's being reeled in slowly by both Big H and Monkey Matt. And Monkey Matt did set a great time, but it was taken away by the thumper that is the Big H.
We have to have a look as well at Simon Bishop. You see there S Bishop on your screen, or Psydog as he's known in the online space. Now, this guy doesn't really need an introduction in the world of Gran Turismo as he goes off into the gravel. That's the curse of having the camera on your car at that point in the lap. So he'll have to jump out of the way of the driver behind him here. He's going to get in the way of someone there. We're not sure quite who it is, but he's gone through the final corner there, and it doesn't look like he held up that driver too much there. But talking about Simon, we've just been interrupted by a huge incident. He had lost 5 seconds that lap, so that's not going to do very good for him, and this is probably going to be the last lap that he gets as well. So Simon has been all over the world for Gran Turismo. Back in the sport days, he was all over it, and he's still kicking about in Gran Turismo 7. He goes off again, and he's having a very hard time here at Laguna Seca. We'll have a look now at Apex Humper, or the Big H as we're starting to call him. going around in the green livery. So he's currently sitting P2, and looks like McEwen has once again improved his time and increased the deficit to the drivers behind him.
Certainly has, yes. Both McEwen, yourself as well, Mr. Tom England, and also Simon Bishop, of course, recently at the GT World Series. Very impressive from all three of you representing New Zealand on the world stage in Amsterdam, I believe it was. And we might even get you three to talk about that a little bit later on. The Big H going purple there in Sector 2 as they come down the corkscrew now and down to the last part of the corners here. And that's, might have got myself a little bit mixed up. There's a couple of cars off the grid. Looks like they were trying to find the pit lane entry. That's not where it is, chaps, sadly. And two commentators' curses doled out already directly for the one and only Simon Bishop, so I'm sure he'll be ruining his luck here listening to us in the comms box talk about him. But nonetheless, Matt McEwen still running away with it at 129.163. Big H can't do anything about it right now. Monkey Matt only 0.183 of a second behind him, with Jinx Lynx about 2.5 tenths behind him as well. This is going to be the last lap for these competitors.
Yeah, have a look at that timer down in your bottom left corner. We are past 10 minutes, so this is it. This is the last chance that these guys are going to get, and Monkey Matt already down on his best time in the first sector split there, so he's going to have to really pull a cat out of the bag there to unseat McEwen at the top. He's got a 0.325 deficit to overcome to get up there. I think it's going to be a very hard ask for him.
That's right, yeah. Simon Bishop is in the pits. He won't be going out again. Same with Scar, who's currently down in P8 in this race. So Nemo ahead of him. A Green Goldfish doing very, very well compared to his qualifying time trial, his initial time trial in the qualification period. But it is all eyes right now on Monkey Matt. Can he do something special? He's gone and set a personal best by 0.1 of a second. Through the corkscrew they go, down towards the Rady curve, and now into turn 10. He's looking very, very tight. He's looking fast. We've seen these cars stepping out, the rear massively stepping out on a lot of this. He's under control though. Through the last corner he comes, across the sausage curb, rides it like it's not even there, and across the line. Let's see what Monkey Matt can do as he comes across the line. Will it be good enough? No, he stays P3.
0.002 in it between the Big H and Monkey Matt in the end. The top three as close as it gets. They have a phrase for that in Australia, but I don't think I'm prepared to say that on a live broadcast like this. But there's absolutely nothing in it. You could fit a sheet of paper between these guys here. Let's have a look now and see if there's anyone still on track completing laps. It looks like there's a couple of cars still coming around. There's a half-second penalty there for a Green Goldfish, so he's not going to be able to set any more laps, and that is us run and done for qualifying.
Wow, what a session. I mean, it's so tricky out there. You can see that all the competitors are struggling with the cars. As soon as they touch that gravel, it is game over for their qualifying. When they go out there, you get 2 or 3 really, really good laps on those tyres, and then they are gone.
And Simon Bishop, an experienced hand here in the Gran Turismo scene, not being able to keep the car under control there just shows how difficult it is for these guys to get this car around the track, especially a track like Laguna Seca with so much runoff. And, you know, it's a great thing to see. So we're going to go to an interview very shortly with our pole sitter. So we'll get that set up for you guys. But first of all, we're going to have to look at our results from the qualifying session. So we'll bring that up on the screen for you now for our Laguna Seca qualifying session here in the Chevy Corvette CO6, I think it is. I think it's a CO6, is that correct?
I think so. I mean, it's a C8 at the end of the day, the 2020 model, which is fantastic. Not 100% sure it's the C06 or not. But here are our results as it stands right now. McEwen takes out pole position with a 29.163. A brilliant time there. He's a 0.1 of a second clear of everyone on the field. Big H takes out P2, and Monkey Matt will take out the P3 position. We're just getting set up for our Discord interview now, or our poll interview, as I should say, and we will be bringing in Matt McEwen to have a chat with us in just a moment, and he has suddenly disappeared out of our chat. So we'll continue to run through our results as it stands right now. P4 goes to Jinx Lynx NZ, followed by Simon Bishop, who had a couple of unlucky runoffs there. P6 goes to a Green Goldfish, setting a 129.860, about 7 tenths off the pace today. Then Nemo in P7 will continue his run of good form. P8 goes to Dive Cable, followed by P9 Scar, and then we've got Wizard, who's coming in to replace Demon Chippy on the grid, and then PLODER, that's Plodder there in P11, followed by Crimson for rounding out the grid today. So Crimson doesn't look like he's had a particularly fantastic time, unfortunately, and we're just about to go into our interview, but unfortunately there is a technical issue that is causing a bit of a problem. We might be able to jump into a different chat as well, but I think we might have just got him now. So let's see if we can bring in Matt McEwen.
Matthew, do we have you there? Oh, I can't hear you, Matthew, but we'll come to you in a minute. Have we got you, Matthew?
Yeah, you've got me.
All right. Hey, congratulations on your pole position in the first round of the New Zealand Esports Racing Series. How does it feel to see this one out with a fantastic start?
Oh, it feels great. It was just the beginning, but yeah, I was hoping for a pretty good result in qualifying. We'll see how it goes in the race.
It's a great start. You couldn't have started the season off any better. Did you have any fear at any point that anyone was going to be able to undercut you and get a better lap time in before you finished?
Yeah, I ran wide at the final corner and had to get the power down pretty hard, nearly spun the car. And so I was wondering if that was going to end up causing problems, but luckily it just kind of closed the gap.
Now, you seem to be one of the only cars on track that didn't have any major issues as you went around. We saw people with penalties. We saw people going off into the gravel trap. Can you tell us your secret about what keeps you so mistake-free on your qualifying laps?
It's all just practice. I've already practiced about 3 or 4 hours on this, and so I just kind of practiced qualifying, just making sure I could get around clean. I think that's the most important thing in qualifying, is just making sure you don't crash.
Yeah, get your laps in, be consistent. So there you have it, folks. If you're listening at home, practice, practice, practice. That's the ethos coming from this man right here. Good luck for the race, Matthew, and thank you very much for talking to us.
Awesome, thank you.
Great to have you. Well, that is us. We will be moving on into the race very, very shortly for you guys. But yeah, what a qualifying session, and what a word from Matthew there about practice and, you know, putting the time in and making it count. And he did make it count here tonight, and that is great to see.
It certainly did. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you've got to do. You've got to put the hours in, you've got to put the time in, and when you get that consistency and that precision, then you end up getting that wonderful position that is first place in the race. 27 laps we've got in front of us here with a big, big call on strategy ahead for all the drivers. Will they start on hards? Will they start on mediums? Will they start on the soft tyres? They're running the sports compound. We saw how tricky it was out there with a lot of cars getting rather fishtaily, and that's going to introduce a whole set of other challenges for everyone on the grid. But I'm very excited for this, Tom. It's going to be a brilliant race.
It's going to be great. So just a refresher for you guys looking on at home, 16 times tyre wear and 2 times fuel wear. So fuel is not a concern for these guys in this race this evening, but they will have to worry a lot about their tyres. So I'm very excited to see what sort of strategies they employ here at Laguna Seca. 27 laps, as you say. It's going to be a huge race from start to finish, and an endurance test as well.
Certainly will. We've got a false grid start here, so everyone will start stationary on the grid. But as soon as they go, they will have to hold and wait until the light's out. And here we go. Tom, lights are out at Laguna Seca for the first round of the New Zealand Esports Series, and away we go. It's a good start from the Big H. McEwen is going to be holding as much as he can around the outside of turn 1. Looks like he might have got that done already. A bit of contact, I think, between the two drivers, and sent wide is McEwen with the Big H. Now off to a great start with Jinx Links in behind, and Simon Bishop, another great start for him. And a little bit more contact there, but you can see the red car of Simon Bishop up from 5th place already. Monkey Matt, he's not had a great start, down in 5th position.
That's a monster start for Simon Bishop there. He's had a great run and a great getaway there, but the Big H is the big talking point here as well. Getting the better of our pole sitter, Matthew McEwen, just before the first quarter, and Matthew went a little bit too deep, and we talked about that at the beginning of the race, or before we started the qualifying session as well. The brakes on these cars are what's going to catch guys out, as we see cars at the back there also getting onto the dirt, but the drivers are still all together here. We've lost no one so far in this race, and that's very impressive to see.
Certainly is, and away we go down the corkscrew for the first time. One lap nearly done out of 27 on the grid. Looks like everyone's navigated that reasonably successfully for the first time. And it's going to be interesting to see when we are able to see who's on which tyre. That could have come into account at the first corner as well. And that is Bishop trying to make a move on Jinx Links, the purple car versus the red car at the moment. And looking pretty mighty is Simon Bishop. He knows that he had a rubbish qualifying. He wants to make up for that as soon as possible, and now as we go across the line for the first lap completed, we're going to see if he can make a move down into turn 1.
Now these guys have to be very careful here, because if they battle one another, the guarantee of that is that they are both going to lose time, and that's going to take away their chances at a fight for the lead later in the race. So here goes Simon Bishop down the inside through turn 1. That's that main overtaking zone we talked about before the race, and he goes through into 3rd position and a podium spot here on lap number 2, and now he'll go in pursuit of McEwen and Humper. Now, George said just before about our tyre selection, we can't see what the drivers are on just yet, but they could be on anything. Hards, mediums or softs. It's going to be hard to tell at this stage, but that selection will determine who's going to be quick on track and who's not. I would bet my bottom dollar, though, that Simon Bishop is on the soft tyres.
Almost certainly, yeah. You can see the speed that he had over Jinx Links there, and that was a beautiful overtake into turn 1, really held his line, got right ahead as part of that second apex, and just absolutely floored it on the throttle and got out. We've now got a big battle happening. McEwen is on the rear bumper nearly entirely of the Big H, and Simon Bishop is going to be creeping up. The gap was sitting at around 1.5 seconds. That has already dropped by a couple of tenths here, so McEwen knows that he needs to find a way back round the Big H and get back into that podium position so he can put some distance between himself and Simon Bishop.
It's roles reversed now. We were talking about Simon versus Jinx Links before and losing time against each other, and now McEwen finds himself in the same position. His best bet right now is to get past the Big H as quickly as possible, but if he does that and he doesn't quite execute it on the first try, he's going to lose a lot of time, and Simon Bishop is going to be right there to pick up the pieces in this battle. Big H defending on the way through to turn 1, and he holds the position for now. McEwen not doing anything rash at this stage. You can see the delta there between Simon Bishop and McEwen, hovering about 0.9 second range. And it's important also to remember, if you're not familiar with the Gran Turismo system, 1 second is the threshold for slipstream. So you will pick up a toe down a straight and get a little bit of a speed boost if you are within a second of the car in front. Not dissimilar to the DRS systems used in Formula 1, but not quite as strong here at Laguna Seca, especially in a car with such little downforce, as we see McEwen get very sideways on the way out of the left-hander. They're heading up to the kink now. He's lost a lot of ground to the Big H out front, and that might have brought Simon Bishop back into it a little bit as well. Do you think these guys are all on the same tyre, George?
I get the feeling that they might have been. When you start that high up the grid, there really is only one choice, and that's start on the fastest tyre possible. You do not want to be sacrificing track position early on in the race and getting eaten up by the rest of the field. If you're behind another car, you're going to be slower. Right now, McEwen is thinking exactly that. Monkey Matt here, now on board within the number 7, the white Chevrolet out on track. He's under a bit of pressure from Nemo in behind. There's about 0.3 of a gap between them and 1.4 second gap out to Jinx Links. So these two have not let the top 3 or the top 4 run away with things at all. And now back on board with McEwen. He's going to be going for another run. Let's stay on board with him. He's found some great time through there. The Big H has taken the fastest lap of this race back into the 29s already, Tom. That's incredible pace. I think it's unequivocal now. They are absolutely on the soft tyre.
Something else to watch out for as well is these drivers were given a little bit of extra incentive tonight in their drivers chat on the Discord server that we use to organise this race. There is a prize available tonight for the driver that sets the fastest lap of the race. We are giving away a 1:43 scale die-cast model of this Corvette that we are driving tonight, which is great to see the Hot Wheels car being used and given away to whoever sets the fastest lap tonight. We figured that it probably wasn't very clever to give it away to whoever wins the race, because they're going to net a whole bunch of championship points anyway, and that's going to help them out more than enough already. So we want to give something to someone else who puts it all on the line and perhaps puts on the soft tyres for a couple of laps right at the end and goes for that fastest lap, takes the risk.
Exactly. So if you're down in last place right now, have a little think about what you need to do, because you might just snag yourself a really cool Hot Wheels model. Nonetheless, we are staying on board with this amazing battle that is going on right now. And for a little bit of time, Simon Bishop did in fact set the fastest lap A Big H, though, he needs to get a big move on here, and he is doing exactly that. He's really hustling along the track here, keeping 2 GT World Series drivers behind him right now, but these are challenging conditions, Tom. You cannot fault anyone on the grid for just keeping the car on the track.
It's so hard to keep up with what's going on track as well. This battle at the front is so close. We feel like McEwen is going to go for a move at any moment in time, but then if you look back as well to P5, you've got Nemo all over the back of Monkey Matt here in the red car, and he might just about go for a move at any point as well.
That's exactly right, and it is opportunistic timing that you have to use here. Through the Sector 2 and through Sector 3, it is incredibly difficult to find an overtaking opportunity unless there is a mistake from the driver ahead. Now, with the class category and skill of the drivers we've got in this lobby, those mistakes are going to be far and few between. That means very few overtaking opportunities outside of making a move, probably down into turn 1. Andretti hairpin is the place to do it, but you've got to have a good exit out of turn 11. You've got to have the run. You've got to be within that 1 second gap, and you've got to put your foot down early as you exit the final corner.
This onboard with Nemo has given us a really good idea of the handling characteristics of this Chevy Corvette C8. And look, he gets nearly onto the gravel there, and that's that corner we were talking about. That's the left-handed kink into the uphill section that if you take just wrong, you'll find yourself with 4 wheels on the gravel. It really can put you on the back foot here. Now, I would be willing to bet, George, that these 2 drivers here are the first of the medium runners, as they've fallen a fair way down behind the likes of the Big H and McEwen up the top. And look at this, as we see Nemo go up the inside into the right-hander here, not an overtaking spot we usually see done, but he makes it stick and gets the move done, and that is P5 for Nemo. And he's actually on the back of, no, sorry, that's Monkey Matt in behind, and we've actually got dive cable in the mix for this one as well in the salmon car back there.
Exactly right, yeah. Monkey Matt, unfortunately, through Rady Curve, just got a little bit sideways. That caused him to drop back just enough that Jinx Lynx was on his tail for that turn 10. It was a beautiful little overtake, headed up the inside. It's a very, very fast right-hand corner, that turn 10, and there is a little bit of an opportunity. If you can be right next to the rear bumper, you can make it happen, but all that fighting has done Dive Cable a massive, massive favor back on top. And who's getting the extra favor here? Simon Bishop. He is right there on board with him now and watching the fight ahead. Look at these 2 cars and the slip angle they're using. This is part of the nature of these cars. 1.5 tons on there with tires that do not have the best grip, with huge tire degradation. And you can see the only way that they are getting these cars turned in on these corners is by using that slip angle, getting the car's front and to rotate into that apex as much as possible, because at the end of the day, if they're on the soft tire, you're going to be throwing them away in the next couple of laps anyway, so why not use them?
Now, something very unusual to see for an American car such as this is the engine placed in the back. So this is a mid-engine rear-wheel drive layout of vehicle, which is common among European cars. We see a bit of contact there between McEwen and the Big H for P1. It looks like Simon Bishop is going to dive into the pits early, jump off those soft tires, and put on the next set. We'll have to keep an eye out for what he puts on. Jinx Lynx also diving in. Nemo also driving in. So a lot of these guys blinking at the end of lap 6. And the Big H and McEwen go around for one more. Monkey Matt and Dive Cable make the call to go around again. Now, I'm very interested to see what tyre Monkey Matt is on, because I get the feeling that he's on the medium tyre, and seeing the prominent rise there of Dive Cable through the field, it looks like we missed an overtake there from him, but he's risen through the field very, very quickly, so I would suspect he's probably on the soft tyre.
Yeah, I think that's right. As predicted earlier, part of our strategy graphic, we did say that the soft tyres will probably last around 7 laps here. We're on the 7th lap now. If we were right in our predictions, which, you know, not necessarily we are always, we may see Big H and McEwen and the likes of Dive Cable jump into the pits this lap. But you're right with Monkey Matt. He's been running at a pretty consistent rate. He's just been getting now into the 32s. The way that those lap times look, though, I have to admit, it kind of looks like he might be on a degrading soft tyre. Then again, he might have just had a couple of bad laps. He did just get overtaken by 2 drivers moments before, but this has now elevated Scar, Wizard, and a Green Goldfish up into those top 7 positions as we continue our onboard here with Monkey Matt, who goes down the corkscrew now very nicely. The car looks pretty planted. It's really hard to say if he's on the softs or the medium at this stage. We'll see in a couple of corners' time as he passes the pit lane entry.
Yeah, we're going to find out. What we did pick up on just before on the broadcast as well is that the pitters of the last lap, and here we go. Monkey Matt goes around again. So with our prediction of 7 laps that we saw earlier, and the 3 drivers in front of him on the softs, 7 laps shelf life for these soft tyres. So it's very likely now that Monkey Matt is actually on the mediums or possibly even the hard tyres. I'd suspect mediums, but the hards are still a possibility for someone of his caliber. Remember, Monkey Matt is another one of those drivers who has represented New Zealand on the world stage for Gran Turismo.
Exactly.
Now let's jump back and have a look on board with Simon Bishop. Now, Simon's picked up a penalty. He's not going to serve it this time around, but what's important here is that we keep an eye out for the likes of McEwen and the Big H as they exit the pits. There you can see a car just coming out of the pits just up ahead. You can see him in the pit lane on the left-hand side. Simon is challenging to see if he can get close to these guys. They're going to take that corner very slowly until they regain control of the car after the AI lets it go back to them. And here he is. Look, Simon is right on the back of them after pitting 1 lap early and has not lost any time in this fight.
Exactly right. That 0.5 second penalty is going to hurt him at the end of this lap, but neither Big H nor Matt have managed to find a way. And, oh, well, I was about to say they've got traffic ahead of them, but that's the 11 car, I believe, of Plodder. Yes, it is. That is Plodder, who was running up momentarily in P3 in this race, looking like he kind of either made a mistake or just let these 3 cars by, knowing that he's not in the fight for the top. But the green, yellow, and red, the colors of the lights, leading us away through that fast left-hander once again. And it is going to be an exciting, interesting next couple of laps here, because we've got Monkey Matt in the lead, 3 laps or so till he needs to pit off those medium tires.
Yeah, I have no idea what to expect from these guys. What's amazing is that these guys are still together on track and they have not had a massive diversion in strategy. We were expecting to see a whole bunch of guys pick something different, go left of field and pick a different strategy to the others around them, but it looks like these guys in the battle for the lead are all on the same strategy, and that has meant that they are going to race from lights to flag here, because it looks like we're going to see a 2-stop from these guys. We've seen them pit at the end of lap 7, or in the case of Simon, the end of lap 6, and they're probably going to run the majority of the rest of the race on the medium tyres. And an example of the medium tyres, of course, is Monkey Matt, who's out in front with a comfortable lead right now. Now, he just has to set laps on this medium tyre, put in a good stint, and hope that the guys that are further back, the likes of Big H, McEwen and Simon, fight between each other a little bit and lose themselves time, because he's in clear air right now, and that is massive for him. He is going to gain so much time by not having any traffic in front of him, not having anyone to deal with around him, and not having to fight anyone. That is a huge advantage, particularly in Gran Turismo 7, to have on track.
Couldn't agree more. And at the end of the day, we're going to see how long these tyres can be extended. Our prediction, of course, was 11 laps on the medium tyres. These chaps could be planning to go a lot longer than that. Certainly the likes of Big H, McEwen and Bishop could be trying to run right up until probably the last few laps in this race, depending on how much they can save in those tyres. Monkey Matt has been consistent in the 32s all the way through these last 5 or so laps. That seems to me like a bit of a tyre saving strategy. We could see these 3 who are fighting for the lead of this race do the exact same. I'm very impressed right now with Big H, doing a brilliant job to hold off these 2. Simon Bishop made a couple of mistakes on that previous lap, so we might have commentator cursed him once again. Atom will have to keep a counter going to make sure we keep a record of that, because I'm sure Simon will be talking to us after the race about that. That is a bit sideways on the exit there for Matt McEwen, but it's not going to cost him much, and now it's all really in the ballpark of Big H. How far can he extend these tyres? Can he stay on the same strategy? Can he do the same stint length as these 2 behind him? And can he hold off for a victory here? We're 10 laps in.
And look at how early these guys are on the brakes into turn 1 now on the medium tyre. They're really struggling with the weight of the car, the application of the brakes, and the power of the engine. And you see there, Big H going very, very deep at turn 1 and struggling to get the car stopped there. But thankfully for him, not losing any station to McEwen behind. Now, Simon Bishop has dropped a little way behind, about 2.5 seconds now, but don't forget, he had that half-second penalty, so most of that was probably from serving that on the straight. The car slows down for half a second, it's out of your control on the brakes, and then as soon as the half second is up, you get back on the power. So not only do you lose that half second at the time, but you also lose that time down the rest of the straight.
Exactly right, and it does hurt as a driver when you get those kinds of penalties. You lose that time, you lose that straight line ability, and of course, more importantly, you're out of that slipstream, and that means that you are not running in that beautiful, beautiful parting the ways of air in front. And we're on board now once again with McEwen, because he is right on the back. I mean, all this pressure on the Big H as we do see Monkey Matt come into the pits, potentially a lap early here from what we were predicting. Scar also on the medium tyre, coming into the pit lane too. He's got a little bit more fuel on board, does he? But this is easily going to put these three back into the lead of the race, which is exactly what we expected. My question now is, where does Monkey Matt come out? What tyre does he use? And where does he come out in terms of Dive Cable and Nemo, who is fighting before they pitted?
Now, what I'm very interested in here is that we have not yet reached the halfway point in this race, yet these guys are hovering around the 50-litre mark of their fuel tanks. And the fuel tank has 100 litres. That's across the board in Gran Turismo 7. Every car has 100 litres capacity for fuel. So you can equate it to 100%. So it makes it a very easy number to work with. Now, seeing these guys hovering around the 50% mark, and we're not even halfway yet, suggests that perhaps our prediction for the fuel was not quite correct, and these guys actually are going to struggle to make it all the way to the end.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. 2 times the rate and degradation on fuel than is normally present on a Gran Turismo lobby, so it's set to 2 times fuel degradation. But as if we're 11 laps in, so double that. You're going to use the rest of that 50%. That leaves you 3 or 4 laps at the end of this race. We are going to be running out of fuel. The question is, which pit stop do you do it on? You've got obviously 2 in hand that you need to do mandatorily to use all the tyres. You've got to use the softs, you've got to use the mediums, you've got to use the hard tyres. You've got some time to put some fuel in. And there is a refuel rate, I do believe.
There is a refuel rate. So when you refuel in the pits, you get 5 litres a second put into the car, so you can be stationed for quite a long time. So if you manage to save 5 litres over the driver in front of you, you'll gain a second in that pit stop, and that can be a massive advantage. That can be worth track position, and sometimes track position is everything. We're seeing that between the Big H and McEwen up top. McEwen just not able to find a way past right now. The Big H managing to keep him behind without too much difficulty, it seems, here, hardly going defensive into any corners and managing to keep that gap hovering about half a second. And even then, look, he goes a little bit deep at that corner, but gets a great exit and doesn't lose any time to McEwen in the process.
I get the feeling that McEwen is quite happy being in slipstream right now. It does occasionally help you save a little bit of fuel and maintain that gap to the car in front. He can be dialing the car back up to maximum fuel input for the Sector 2 and Sector 3 corners, but then in that pit straight, that long pit straight, he can just sort of dial it down, use a little bit less fuel, maybe do a little bit of lift and coast towards the end. I think that's something that all the drivers will be thinking about in this. But we have to mention that Simon Bishop here is catching up to these two once again after serving a penalty, after having a few little moments on the downhill section. He's doing very, very well, and he's going to be a big contender for this as well. The question is, who is saving fuel, who is not, who's going to take that time in the pit lane, who's thinking that they can go faster for longer.
And we've got people yet to come back into this race on strategy as well. We're looking now at Monkey Matt down in P6. Now, he ran a long first stint on the medium tyre, but what that means is that that medium tyre is now out the way for him. So he's got the opportunity now, and it looks like, I'm going to guess, he's gone to the soft tyre here, which might turn out to be a mistake because he's got a bit of traffic in front of him, and that might slow him down. So he's on the fastest tyre that's available to the drivers right now. So he needs to put in the quickest laps he can for the next couple, and he runs right up the back of Dive Cable there into the last corner, and this is what we're talking about. This is that issue where traffic gets in the way, and of course Dive Cable and Jinx Links are under no obligation to get out of the way of Monkey Matt. This is just a strategy issue that Monkey Matt is running into at this point in the race as he goes for a massive dive down the inside of Dive Cable. That's a really well run move. Is he going to get 2 for 1? He goes for the switchback on Jinx Links. Jinx Links is going to stay in it. He's on the dirt, and around the outside for turn 3 goes Monkey Matt. He can do it. What a move from Monkey Matt from Christchurch.
Beautiful stuff. 2 for 1, as Atom has just told us. That was a stunning series of events. And round the outside of turn 3, there is no grip out there. He ran the risk of running wide, but you can see the difference in grip on the tyres between Monkey Matt. Now, as we said just a moment before, he had to get that move done. If he didn't get that done, he was going to be in all sorts of trouble with his strategy on the softer tyres. Dive Cable's just gone for a move on Jinx Links as well in the background. Nemo was overtaken by Monkey Matt a lap and a bit ago, and Monkey Matt in clear air once again. He's only 8 seconds behind the top 3 now.
Bet the house on Monkey Matt. Look at the gap to the leaders now. It's just under 10.5 seconds, and it's important to note that a lap ago it was over 12. So he's chomping 2 seconds a lap out of these guys and gaining on the leaders. He is not out of this race by any means just yet.
I'll tell you what, he really wants that Hot Wheel model. That's what he really wants. He's going to be setting some very, very fast lap times here. As we come through for the final part of lap 13, going on to the 14th lap, we are just coming up to half race distance now as across the line goes Monkey Matt. This is going to be interesting little lap to watch here. He's already cut nearly a second already out of Simon Bishop ahead of him. The gap's now down to 7 seconds. The question is, he pitted on lap 10. So he is going to have to a maximum there of going to lap 17. So he's got 3 more laps to get this done.
So he is chasing down some medium runners out the front, and he is purple through Sector 1. So that Hot Wheels car might be coming the way of Monkey Matt here, but he's not out of the win opportunity yet either here at Laguna Seca. He is absolutely chomping time out of the guys out the front. This is fantastic driving from Monkey Matt, improving his experience. He's been around for a while back in the GT Sport days. He's a familiar face to a lot of people in the New Zealand community, and I guarantee at home there's a lot of people cheering for him right now, trying to chase down the guys out front. There you go, the gap now down to 8.5 seconds. You see that little red box next to his name on the left upper corner of the screen. That is the gap to the big H out the front. So these guys are going to have to get a move on. They've got those medium tyres on. They're all going to end up on the hards at the end of the race. And we're going to get a grandstand finish here.
Well, this is why I love the difference between a medium start in terms of your qualifying position and what the guys at the start, at the top of the grid have to do. At the top of the grid, you're basically obliged to go into the softer compound. But when you're in that mid-pack, when you're P5, P6, P7, you can mix up that strategy. Being on a faster compound in the middle of the race can be very, very beneficial. I did note that Scar, who was pretty close to Monkey Matt on the exit of his pit stop, went onto the hard tyre. So Scar now in a little bit of a battle with Wizard behind, currently in P9 behind Plodder, but he is running the hard tyre. He's going to be extremely fast at the end of this race. I think he started on the medium tyre.
Now this is a good dynamic for Scar to be in, because being on the hard tyre means that whoever's behind you is on either the same or a faster tyre than you are. So it's in your best interest to hold them up, to block them, to stop them from getting past you and lose them time, so that when the roles are reversed and you end up on the better tyre, you're able to gain more time than they could when they were using it, and you cause them to waste the life of that special tyre, that fast tyre. And it looks like that's what he's doing here for Wizard. Wizard is trying to find a way past. He looks fast here. He looks like he's got more pace than Scar. Will we see a move to the inside for the left-hander up here? The pink car, does it go for it? No, it stays behind. So Wizard showing a little bit of patience here and not going for the move too urgently on Scar.
It's a very sensible thing to do. Patience is a virtue in sim racing and in life. And Scar doing a great job. Whenever he's braking, he's making sure that he's holding that inside line. But unfortunately for him, not the best exit out of the turn 6 there is let Wizard come right on through. So Wizard waited patiently. He waited for his opportunity. He got the opportunity. He took the opportunity. That's a great little bit of driving there from Wizard. Scar maybe didn't want to fight that too much, though.
Well, the time that Scar earned by keeping Wizard behind for as long as he did is invaluable to his race as it goes on. So that hard stint is huge for him. And have a look at the fastest lap graphic there at the bottom of the tower. Monkey Matt has laid the hammer down. He's got the fastest lap and puts himself in a prime seat to steal that Hot Wheels Chevy C8 Corvette. And what a lap it is, 29.7. And I think McEwen's qualifying time in the qualifying session, I think it was about the same pace, wasn't it?
I think it was about thereabouts, I mean, within a couple of tenths of a second. And Monkey Matt, I told you he was keen for those Hot Wheels. He really wants that model car. Doesn't matter where he finishes on the grid, but in 4th place, even in 4th place, he's going to bag himself a bunch of very, very valuable championship points, which is going to throw him right at the top of the grid of the standings after this first round. He's really close now to the back of Simon Bishop. There's less than a second in it. He's gone from 8 seconds behind to right on the back of them. Of course, he will still have to run the hard tyres at the end of this race, but so will the top 3. He's right in this.
Now, at this point, it's where we start thinking about whether Monkey Matt is going to come into the pits. And he saw he had to check up there against Simon Bishop, as Simon was a little bit slower out of the last corner prior to that one, and out of the hairpin they come. for the 16th time of asking, and will Monkey Matt go for the move here? He's got it. This is his opportunity. He's got to get past. It's much like the ones before. Simon looks like he was about to cover him off, but Monkey Matt was having none of it. A decisive move down the inside, and through he goes into third place. So now he's in a podium position, and he is truly racing the guys around him. He may have a slight tyre advantage, but he is in the race with these guys. They all have to go onto the hard tyre at the end of the race, and then the playing field will be leveled. They'll all be equal, and it'll be a battle to see who's got the best pace on that slow tyre.
It's been a very clever move here in strategy from Monkey Matt. Started a little bit further down in qualifying, thought to himself, okay, if I go on the medium tyre, everyone ahead is going to be on the soft tyre. I'm going to get at least 4 laps of clean air, and then when I come out on the soft tyre, I should have at least a little bit of clean air to get going once I get past the people who I need to pass. He managed to get that done absolutely beautifully. 2-in-1 pass after overtaking another person, 3 people in the space of about 5 or 6 corners. Beautiful stuff. On board at the moment with Dive Cable, and he's also doing a great job here. I'm not 100% sure on exactly what strategy he's chosen. I think he was one of those who decided to stay out a little bit longer with Monkey Matt.
I think he's on the medium tyres at the moment. We look at his lap times there, 132.9 on the previous lap, and no sign of a pit stop in his lap times there as late as this point. So the medium tyres probably on that car right now. But what I'm interested in is the battle a bit further up. Now, look at the gap between Monkey Matt and Side Bishop, and what's interesting here is Monkey Matt is still on track. Now, do you remember what lap Monkey Matt pitted on? It was the end of lap 10. This is Monkey Matt's 8th lap on the soft tyres. His tyre management is absolutely off the chain. He's done such a great job to make it this far. Either that, or he's got immense bravery.
Exactly, yeah. He might well be very brave, and he might also have a good strategy. It could be one or both. But at this stage, I'm fascinated because I think the key reason why he stayed out is he knows that these chaps, having pitted on lap 7, are right at the end of that medium running stint. You add 11 to 7, you get lap 18. You extend that soft stint by 1, which is what Monkey Matt has done, and you are also pitting on lap 18. So I think the idea here is to pit on the same lap as the chaps ahead of him and Simon Bishop, and then it is all game on. Same tyres towards the end of the race, 9 laps to go.
This is why they say never do maths on a broadcast. There's so much number juggling. We should have brought a notepad for this. But look at the gap now. Within a second of McEwen, Monkey Matt is all over this. Now, do you think he'll go for a 9th lap? Surely not.
Oh, I mean, look, at the end of the day, if he can do a 9th lap, hats off to him. That's going to be an amazing effort. But I get the feeling those tyres are pretty much gone. Although, if I'm in his seat right now and I see those 2 cars and a potential...
He's going around again, George. He's doing another.
The words were literally coming out of my mouth saying why he shouldn't be doing it. And there he is doing it. That's unbelievable. He's done something magical to those tyres.
He's put some sort of special sealant on them to get them a whole lot further. Simon Bishop is in off the medium tyres. He pitted a little bit earlier than the guys in front of him after 6 laps on the softs in the early stages. Look at Monkey Matt around the outside, and McEwen finally goes for the move on the Big H. Can he get it done? He does. The Big H is demoted to 2nd. McEwen, the fear was in his eyes. He saw Monkey Matt coming and he said, I need to put someone in between me and this guy. He is too fast right now. So the question I have for Monkey Matt now is, what condition are those tyres in? They must be absolutely ragged. But it looks like he still has the grip to go for moves here. It looks to the outside of the Big H. Can't quite get it done. Goes for the switchback. Oh, what a line run there by the Big H. Managed to keep it together enough. Monkey Matt, he's so aggressive. Look at this. Look into the inside on the way up to the kink. That's a place that you would never see anyone overtake. You have a look at the pit graphic there. A couple of drivers putting on their hard tyres. So they are running to the end now with only... what is that, 9 laps to go? This is that doing maths on broadcast once again. But look at this battle. And there goes the Big H. He's made an error at the corkscrew, and that allows Monkey Matt through. Monkey Matt is going to challenge for the lead here shortly. 1.3 seconds to McEwen. He must pit this lap. Monkey Matt must be in, and the other 2 as well, surely.
You'd think so. Looks like Matt McEwen, because he's going for another lap.
Oh my
goodness. This is amazing. So he's going to have done nearly 11 laps on this soft tyre. I don't know where you're from, which planet it is, Monkey Matt, but it certainly isn't this one. What an incredible effort he is putting in here. And you saw that Matt McEwen thought, uh-oh, here's a very fast white Chevrolet in my mirror with the name Monkey Matt on it. Time to get a move on. He's been sitting behind the Big H, saving his tyres, saving his fuel, and look at him. He's put the gas down. He said, no, that's enough. I need to use up every single thing I've got left, all the fuel, all the tyres, and absolutely send it, or I'm going to be losing provisional pole this race. He has to pit at the same time as Monkey Matt, or he's going to be in big trouble for the lead of this race.
Whoever goes furthest here is probably going to be the one that goes on to win this race, because both tyres that these guys are using are faster than the hard tyres that they have yet to use. This is insane. McEwen with an error on the way out of the corner, gets a bit wiggly, puts Monkey Matt in a great position here to go for a move up to the corkscrew. That extra grip seemingly still there for Monkey Matt. He's got the inside line here. McEwen is forced to the outside. He can do nothing as Monkey Matt goes late on the brakes into the corkscrew and pulls it up perfectly. Goes through into the lead of the race. No one saw this coming. This is amazing from the Christchurch resident.
That's a stunning turn of events here, and you're right, he parked it on that apex beautifully. Very hard to do that, especially when you're braking late, especially when your tyres are completely gone, which we imagine. Now here he's not going into the pits. We've either got something wrong, or there is something very special going on with Monkey Matt and his tyres. McEwen's in the pit. Big H is in the pit now. Bishop is going to be coming round. He's on the hard tyres, still in 4th position. Dive Cable in 5th. Nemo in 6th. Jinx Lynx has fallen down to 7th. And a Green Goldfish in P8. And I'm trying to give us a chance here to keep doing the math in our head. I don't know what we're seeing here with Monkey Matt, but this is something very, very special.
And this lap, if he manages to keep up the pace he's on, he is going to be miles ahead of the guys behind him. We're expecting to see 33s, 34s. You see those towers on the right-hand side? 132s for Monkey Matt still, and 133s, 134s are the predicted lap time for the hard tyre. So, in theory, he's still driving faster than the hard runners. So, McEwen is going to fall even further behind than he was before he pitted in. The question is now, when does Monkey Matt pit? How long can he take these tyres, and when will he decide that he needs to get rid of them?
I mean, based on his lap times, lap 19 was a 133, and this lap is the answer to that question. This lap, because if you're doing that out on track, you need to come into the pits. But continuing that run of thought, lap 19 a 133.2, a 132.0 on lap 20, and that is sideways through the corkscrew. That's not how you drive that section of track, Matt. You've got to go to the pits this lap. If he doesn't do it, then I don't even know. I think we give up on anything to do with sim racing going forward. But yeah, he's slowed down a lot on those last 2 laps. He needs to pit right now. And he does. There we go. We can finally say it.
Monkey Matt saw our prediction for strategy graphic, and he took that personally. He was not happy with that number 7. He had to replace it with an 11. At least it sounds the same. That was polite of him.
That was.
He comes in with 1 litre of fuel on board, so even if he had tyre life left, he had to pit for fuel. That is amazing. I don't know how he's done it. If I didn't know better, I would suggest that he's put a cheat code on the hard tyres.
Yeah.
And he's got the life of a hard tyre and the pace of a soft tyre. But we know that Gran Turismo 7 is as safe as anything when it comes to issues like that, hacks, glitches, anything. There's no problems with Gran Turismo 7. We know for a fact that this is a level playing field, and Monkey Matt is just on the ball tonight.
He certainly is, yeah. Gran Turismo 7 is an amazing platform for this kind of racing when it comes down to your strategy mind, your skill as a driver, how you look after those tires and look after your fuel. It's so important. And then the racecraft comes into it as well. Just being able to think of a strategy like this shows that he's on the ball, and he will lose the position, though, to McEwen. But look at the gap. He was 12 seconds behind Bishop, who's now in P4. He's now 0.6 of a second behind the leader of this race and on fresher tyres.
Now, Monkey Matt may have come out of the pits behind McEwen, but his tyres are now 1 lap fresher. So he still retains an advantage towards the end of this race, and he's still within touching distance. There's less, well, now it's hovering around 0.8. It's going to take a while for Monkey Matt to get used to these hard tyres, I think. Going from the softs to the hards, it takes a bit of brain power, but I think he can do it. I think he's going to be able to get a hold of this car very, very quickly. McEwen has put the hammer down. He's changed it up now. He's not showing the same sort of pace that he was a second ago when Monkey Matt came flying past him, and look at them go. Number 7 on the side of Monkey Matt's car. Don't forget that he was 7th in the qualifying period for this division, and here he is contesting for the lead. He's 1.2 seconds behind McEwen now. It might be the case that McEwen has been saving it all up for a grandstand finish, and here he is saying, anything you can do, I can do better.
Exactly, yeah. Of course, McEwen was qualified on pole position. We interviewed him earlier on. He said practice, practice, practice. He's obviously done his homework, but so has Monkey Matt. But as you can see, the thing is with this, they are on equal tyres at this stage of the race. I think all that Monkey Matt can really hope for now is to stay on the back as much as possible, but you can already see that gap is starting to creep up a little bit. We know that McEwen is qualified ahead of him by 6 positions, and well, that's not going to help McEwen's cause. That's going to be dirty tyres, and that is going to be a Monkey Matt getting a little bit closer, edging just that little bit closer. But I think the writing is on the wall here. He knows that McEwen is going to be faster than him, but that strategy call that Monkey Matt made has been absolutely genius. On board now with Simon Bishop, who's been running a little bit in the doldrums here.
He's a little bit further down than he probably would have liked. P4 now, but also on the hard tyres. So on level playing field with the drivers in front of him. Now, we haven't been able to keep up entirely with the tyre selection of everybody on track, but I think most of the drivers, especially the ones in contention up the top, are running the hard tyres now.
Exactly right. One exception to that is going to be Scar, who has already run his hard tyre stint, and now in P7 in the number 5 orange Corvette. He's going to be chasing down Nemo and Dive Cable, who will be on that hard tyre compound. Jinx Lynx, I believe, is also on the hard, so probably not a big opportunity for Jinx Lynx to make up any positions in the latter part of this race. We are on lap 23 out of 27, so it all comes down to this. But the question is, can Scar bring out a good performance at the end here to catch up with Nemo and Dive Cable ahead of him and maybe bag himself a top 5 position?
I think it might be another case of the writing on the wall here for Nemo in P6. Scar on these soft tyres for absolute certain. You see there on lap 20, he's set a personal best, and there's no way he would have set a lap time like that on the medium tyres or the hard tyres for certain. So he's definitely on the soft tyres, and he's chasing down the 2 drivers in front of him who we believe are on a tyre disadvantage. So a couple of laps time, he's going to be within striking distance of these 2 and looking for a top 5 position here. Let's have a look now at our drivers up the front. The battle for the top position has stretched out a little bit, and Monkey Matt actually just a second ahead of the Big H. He might actually be under threat here for P2.
I think so, yeah. So the Big H obviously qualified way up the grid as well, had a brilliant start, got up into P1 ahead of Matt McEwen. Matt McEwen was happy to run behind him for basically the whole race until Monkey Matt arrived on their doorstep knocking, and they had to basically get a move on. The Big H is setting some good lap times behind him, though. He's made a mistake, though, it looks like, because he was nearly within a second. Now 2 seconds, unfortunately. We might be able to get a nice little replay of this up. Let's take a little look and see what's happened here as we come up towards turn 6. Up the hill we go, and oh, is he just, oh, it's just understeered. Big understeer there. He's had to back out of the corner. That's a frightening thing when that happens, Adam.
That's not something you want to do into the kink, and that's that corner we talked about once again, having massive issues for our guys here. At that corner, it's very easy to lose a whole lot of time if you make a small error like that.
Exactly right. So the Big H, the big challenge for him, the Big H, he's going to have to find and make up that time once again and then get back onto the back of Monkey Matt. So the question is, can he do that on the hard common tyres? We did see him closing up that gap. So right now, Monkey Matt's going to be looking in his mirror. He's going to be, well, was thinking, oh dear. Now he's going to be thinking, okay, got a little bit of breathing room, got a little bit there, but he's going to have to keep up this lap time as Monkey Matt. And if he's not as confident around here in terms of the timings, which he may not be, then we will see. It could be P2 for here for the Big H, but Monkey Matt, it's what, as the famous Jackie Stewart said, it is one thing to catch up, it is another thing entirely to overtake.
And only 2.5 laps left for the Big H to make it happen. And very interesting here, actually, to see the roles are reversed for Monkey Matt now. He was the one piling the pressure on the Big H and McEwen, and the Big H has decided, I think it's time for a taste of your own medicine, mate. He's applying the pressure on Monkey Matt now and making him look in his mirrors and worry about a faster car behind. That green car flying up the hill there into the corkscrew. Number 3 on the side of the car, so 3rd fastest qualifier in the qualifying period and running 3rd in the race as well. So he's technically up 1 on Simon Bishop because he was qualified behind Simon Bishop in the qualifying period, but Monkey Matt came to play today. He came to race, and that's just one of those signs that sometimes qualifying time trials are not entirely representative of skill behind the wheel of a car.
Exactly right. Yeah, race strategy makes a huge difference. You've got to think about it. You've got to ponder it, and you've got to adjust it on the fly. And that's exactly what Monkey Matt's done. He's looked at where he's qualified and said, right, this is the plan. This is what I need to do to get up ahead of these chaps. I'm not going to beat them at the start. Let's beat them at the end of the race. Exactly what he's done. I will say there's some other good news here for Monkey Matt. He's the only one out there who has got a fastest lap, of course. And in addition to that, I think he's the only one out there on soft tyres as we go to the battle now between Jinx, Lynx, and Nemo. And this has been going, but look, Scar, he's up in the P5. He's taking that P5 position, so that tyre advantage has switched around, and Scar moves up into P5 in this race.
That overtake, we just missed that before, but we're going to get a look at it now if we can on a action replay here at the last corner. Into the hairpin. It might have been down the straight, you know, that he got him. So here we are running down the straight. Lap 25 this was on the way down, and you look at the tyre wear on the left-hand side. You can see that graphic on the screen now. About half worn for those sports softs, so he is going to make it to the end most likely. And here's the big dive down the inside into turn one, and it was a decisive move from Scar into that corner there.
Stunning work there from Scar. The Andretti hairpin is the place to make that happen. And we did get a very brief glimpse there at some of the telemetry. Turns out I was wrong. I usually am when it comes to commentary. But he's on the sports soft, so he's not the only person. There is one person out there right now on the softs, and that is Scar, doing a fantastic job to get past both Dive Cable and Nemo, and with Jinx now overtaking Nemo for that P7 position. But really, at the end of the day, it's now the last lap. There's still a 2-second gap between the Big H and Monkey Matt. I think at the end of the day, Monkey Matt has pulled off a masterclass, and that P2 is all but his, barring any mistakes that he makes on this final lap. But not a huge gap between the top three here. You know, I wasn't expecting to see a big gap. I knew all these guys were really, really similar in pace. I just didn't figure the order of the cars.
No, it's a surprise for some, and Monkey Matt, say what you want about the fact that he couldn't quite get the win in this race, although it's not over yet. Let's not throw the commentator's curse out there for this one. 4 seconds, the gap, of course. McEwen's pretty comfortable right now, but anything can happen in the late stages of a race. But Monkey Matt, he may not have such a great shot at the win here, and he may have seemed to throw away the win as well by losing out to McEwen in that pit stop after such a good performance in the middle stages. But remember where he started on the grid. He was P5. He was way down. And here he is in P2 challenging for the middle step of the podium. Apex Humper not looking like he's close enough to go for a move at the end here. But look at the man out front. It is Matthew McEwen for Altus Esports coming around the last couple of corners now. He is not far from home. The first round of the New Zealand Esports Racing Series will go to Matthew McEwen from Palmerston North. Across the line, he will come down the straight here at Laguna Seca in the Chevy Corvette C8. The checkered flag belongs to Matthew here in the first round in the New Zealand Esports Racing Series. Monkey Matt will be second with the Big H in P3 after a hard-fought battle to the end of the race. Simon Bishop takes P4, keeps himself in the championship hopes with a good score at the start of the season. Scar ends up in P5 after a great final stint on those soft tyres, and Dive Cable will come home P6 after losing out in the late stages.
Exactly right. Nemo will come across the line next in P7. He's done a very good race today, but unfortunately does fall a little bit down the grid. P7 for him. A green goldfish has moved a little bit into the grid, and he's now in P8. So done very, very well there as well. Followed by Plotter in P9, currently on the grid. And then I am actually struggling to see my screen right now. But then Wizard in P10, and then Crimson, who rounds out the grid here. Actually, no, it looks like Jinx Lynx has fallen somehow down to P12. He's had an issue at the end of this race. That is super unlucky.
Yeah, we didn't pick up on that error. Perhaps he had to pull an extra pit stop to... he's run out of fuel!
Oh,
he's run out of fuel, probably with a lap to go because he's lost so much time here. Oh, what a disaster for Jinx Lynx. He had such a good race.
Yes, he did. He was right up there in P7, P6 for a long time. But that's what happens if you don't manage that fuel correctly, and then you end up trundling across the line at 30 kilometers an hour. It's a real shame for Jinx Lynx. Maybe next time we'll see. What a race, Tom. I mean, that was absolutely crazy. Some brilliant strategy calls, some great fast racing, some great racecraft involved in that race. Not too many issues around the grid either. Brilliant stuff. Well done, Div 1.
Now, I want to ask you your driver of the day, but I think I already know the answer here, and I'm sure that most of the people at home will agree with us. Go on. Why don't you lay it on us?
Okay, look, it's not as clear cut as you might think, but for someone taking home a Hot Wheels car today, I mean, at the end of the day, that is worth a driver of the day, regardless. No, fastest lap for Monkey Matt, executed the strategy to perfection. Hats off to him. He nearly got that race win as well, but Matt McEwen just a little bit too fast for him out on grid. Congratulations, Monkey Matt. You're my driver of the day, and yours, Tom.
Well,
Do I have to ask?
I simply can't disagree with that, and I would have thrown it out there if even if you hadn't said it as well. Monkey Matt, what a performance, and he had us on our feet in the commentary box with his double overtake in the middle of his soft stint, and then taking the lead of the race from someone like McEwen is no small feat, even with a tyre advantage. He still had to get it done, and he did. In amazing fashion, and it was fantastic to see. So what a result for Monkey Matt from P5 on the grid all the way up to P2. He gets his podium, and that's 10 points in the bag at the start of the season.
That's massive, and that gets you off to such a good start. Obviously, congratulations to our top three. We've got Matthew McEwen, of course, and then we've got Monkey Matt, and then the Big H, who we have now called. I think we're just going to call him the Big H. I think that's some.
That's his name now. That's who he is.
It was either going to be Apex, it was going to be Big H, and Big H just sounds about right. So a big congratulations there to the top three, and of course all the drivers in Div 1. A great way to kick off here in the first round of the New Zealand Esports Series. And thank you to everyone in chat. We've got a lot of people saying GG's and lots of people enjoying the race. So thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Thank you for joining us, of course. But we've got a bunch more because we've got the interview with our race winner coming right up.
2 interviews in one night. Would
exactly.
you believe it?
It's amazing. Exactly. And of course, it's been great here in the live commentary box as well. It's cozy and we like it. It's great. It's great.
All right, we will go to our interview now with Matthew McEwen as soon as we get him in here. Let's have a look at what we're dealing with here. Have we got you, Matthew?
Seems you have.
I don't think we've got you on screen at the moment, so we'll just bring you up just shortly. I know you don't have a camera, but we'll put you on there anyway. So tell us, Matthew, how does it feel? You've bagged the 12 points in the early stages of the season. What does it mean to you?
It means a lot. You get off to a great start, and it kind of just sets you up for the rest of the season. It was pretty exciting in the middle of the race there. Monkey Matt definitely picked the right strategy and just sent it straight past us in the middle. He had me pretty worried, but thankfully just had a little bit more fuel, so got out on the final stint.
Yeah, I had to ask you about that. That would have been my next question. What went through your mind when you saw such a fast-charging Monkey Matt in the middle stages?
I was just praying that he wasn't saving fuel because I was racking my brain thinking, what have I got over him? He's clearly faster. He's doing an extra lap when I'm pitting. I was thinking, I'm out of ideas. I don't know what I'm going to do. But yeah, I saw the 1 liter come up when he was pitting, and I was thinking, okay, here's my shot. This is my one and only chance. And yeah, came out alongside him
So the fuel made the difference for you then?
easily. Yeah, I think I would have come out behind him, and then he could have just held me off the whole time if we'd been the same on fuel. But I had about 7 or 8 liters more fuel than him, and that's all it took, I think.
So were you in control the entire time, or did you have a moment where you weren't sure if it was going to pull off for you?
Right as he was coming up, I was thinking, oh no, he's going to get me. I didn't know how many laps he was going to do. Once he went past the pits when I pitted for hards and he did the extra lap and his pace just didn't slow down, I was thinking, nah, he's got me. He's going to do another lap and he's going to just end up about 4 or 5 seconds ahead by the time we end up on the same tyre.
Now,
So
I don't know if
I
you
was
caught
pretty
Matthew,
sure for quite a few
but
minutes.
Monkey Matt did 11 laps on the soft tyre. Do you have any thoughts about that? Do you think you could have done the same if you'd managed your tyres a little bit better?
I was hoping to get something more out of it on the first stint. Just sitting behind Apex, I was hoping to save a little bit better, but we ended up just about the same. I'm thinking on a second stint with a little bit less fuel, maybe an extra few laps. I'm not sure about 11. I don't know how he's done that, so well done to Monkey Matt for that.
A huge tyre save from him. Well, thank you very much for talking to us, Matthew, and a huge congratulations on your win in the first round here in the New Zealand Esports Racing Series.
Cool, thank you.
Good
I'll
luck
see
for
you
the
guys
rest
next
of the
week.
season. We will do. Well, there you have it, everyone. That is Matthew McEwen, who takes the win in the first round of the New Zealand Esports Racing Series, and 12 points in the bag. Do you think he'll go on to do more of the same?
Well, I think Matt McEwen has got a really level head, and he's a fantastic driver. When you add talent to a level head, you get a very, very skilled competitor. He is going to be right up there challenging for the remainder of the season. I guarantee that. The question is, can Monkey Matt and the likes of the Big H and Simon Bishop pull something out of their hat and continue with this amazing run of form? Because we're all, I think, blown away. I think even Matt might have been a little bit blown away by the fact that 11 laps on the soft tyres. We don't know what kind of magic has been pulled out there by Monkey Matt, but it's incredibly impressive. And we get to say as well, fastest lap, obviously going to Monkey Matt, so a huge congratulations. There is your prize right there. It's very cool. We're both very, very jealous right now. That is a fantastic bit of work you've done there out there on the track, so well done.
Big congratulations to Monkey Matt on winning the model car, the Chevy C8, that goes hand in hand with the round, of course, that they drove on track. But Matthew McEwen takes the win, takes the 12 points. It was a great performance, and he really found an extra gear in that last stint and left everyone for dead, didn't he?
Oh, that was amazing. I mean, he saw Monkey Matt arriving at his rear bumper, and he thought, right, I've got to move. And immediately, I think it was a split second, I think it was, and that decision was made, going, right, Andretti hairpin, let's do this. He went for it, got round the Big H, who, by the way, had a great performance as well.
Yes.
P3 in the first race, very impressive.
He led the majority of the race, didn't he?
He did indeed. Yeah, I think it was something like 16 or 17 laps, and then Monkey Matt was suddenly there, and McEwen said, right, time to hit the gas.
We're going to need a stats graphic of some kind with most laps led in the race, because he needs something from that race.
100%.
Monkey Matt has stolen the show. Matthew McEwen, of course, with the win, but the Big H, all praises must go his way as well. But that is us for the evening. It has been a pleasure to bring this show to you today here at Laguna Seca in the United States with the Chevy Corvette here at Respawn HQ in the heart of Wellington. The New Zealand Esports Racing Series is going to be a great championship from start to finish, so make sure you don't miss any of the action. Follow Respawn Esports Centre on Twitch. Keep up with everything that's going on here. We broadcast plenty of other stuff as well from all sorts of different games here in Wellington also. What do you think?
Well, I'd say a big thank you to New Zealand Esports, to Queensland Highland Motorsport Park as well, to yourself, Tom, because I don't know if anyone knows this in the background, but this man right here has been doing some serious administration in the background. So hats off to Tom England for getting all of this organised, for bringing us all in here. Big thanks to Respawn and Highlands, of course, as well. Looking forward to more. It's going to be brilliant.
I had no idea how much involvement it would take to organise a series like this. So hats off to the other people that do it out there, because it is tough work, but super rewarding to see it come to fruition like this. And big thanks to Jackson, the head of Respawn as well, for giving us this platform to make this happen. And of course, like you said, Highlands Motorsport Park in Queenstown. Don't forget, the grand prize for this series is a drive in a real-life race car down at the bottom of the South Island, and super exciting. And Matthew McEwen has put himself in a prime spot to earn that. But we are going to finish up for the evening now. It's been a pleasure to bring this show to you, and we look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Bye-bye for now.